And I would like to invite all the speakers to the podium for the panel discussion. And I think before we start the panel discussion, so we'll have the first question for Dr. Umayma and Dr. Tahani is not a question, actually is a vote. So we want to vote who with GLP, who is with GLP, GIP. So who says GLP 1? I need to see hands. This is the beauty of debates. No one? Oh my God. At least one. No one with GLP. Dr. Umayma, you don't convince them. So you need to convince them well. Yes?
Of about 15%, which reflects almost to the same number, which is about 14 to 15 kilograms. And that weight loss was actually was seen after 4 weeks and then after 16 weeks. So we have really good results with the semaglutide here.
So what about GLP, GIP? Who say yes? I need to see hands. Nobody with anyone? Oh my God. We have the right side with GLP, GIP. So we like both? No? No one with GLP? Again, GLP? So all of them about GLP, GIP, so all the audience. So what's your comment, Dr. Tahani?
Well, as I said, we've known GLP-1 for a long time, and we've been using it and changed a lot of guidelines in terms of diabetes and weight management. And then the new concept or novel class came recently, and we expect it to come to the market, to the Saudi market soon, inshallah. To provide a synergistic effect in terms of targeting 2 different mechanisms, providing more reductions in A1C and also more reductions in weight, in the benefit of the patient without providing any more adverse effects.
Okay, thank you. So my question to Dr. Fahad, having a SGLT2 to a type 1 diabetes is a new thing nowadays and will change a lot of practice. So having a DKA risk still is high, a little bit high with 4% with such cases, and you presented in the guidelines that certain criteria in the NICE guidelines, there is a certain criteria to prescribe SGLT2. So, and you mentioned that there is a monitoring, you need to monitor your patient for ketosis. So in terms of practicality, how frequent should the patient monitor himself, and in terms of even in the clinic, so how frequent we need to monitor?
So I think what's the recommended is at least to have 1 to 2 months follow-up with the physician. In terms of the ketone levels, it's every 3 months. The recommendation is every 3 months to have the ketone levels when the patient is at SGLT2. The other recommendations, you have to evaluate the patient every time you see the patient for any risk of DKA. So if the patient at the initial visit is qualified for the SGLT2 inhibitors and then something happened, they are at higher risk either by recent admission or by any other circumstances, you have to re-evaluate the patients. In terms of monitoring, I think I have to be honest with everyone. It's especially with the challenges that we are having currently in access to care and all of that. It's not actually practical to have the patient, come every 1 to 2 months to follow up. And most of the patients, they will say, you know what, most of our patients, they don't want a frequent follow-up. So they would say, no, I want to see you twice a year or something. And so I think at this stage, it might be difficult unless you have a control over the patients and they are in an agreement with regards to frequent follow-up.
So thank you. So I think we'll have 1 or 2 questions from the audience because we are running out of time. So questions. So can I have the mic there? Okay, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Nader Shraim. First, I would like to say thank you, Dr. Fahad, Dr. Umayma, and Dr. Tahani about this informative presentation. Just I have two questions and one comment, if you allow me, just quickly. Regarding Dr. Fahad, we know that there is evidence that SGL2, GLP-1 can be used for patients with type 1. But practically, how can we convince, for example, physician or the clinical pharmacist or any healthcare providers? What's the cutoff point? For example, if I mention to the patient that I will add a medication rather than increase the doses of insulin. So that's when sometimes it's difficult. It's need a discussion with the patient. The second question, Dr. Umayma and Dr. Tahani, about the price. Global study they conducted globally, they found worldwide that around 80% of the healthcare providers, they define the obesity as chronic disease. Unfortunately, in Saudi Arabia, when they conduct this study as questionnaire, they found just only around 60%. They defined it as obesity. So the cost, still the big question for the all health institution, how we can convince the higher administration, because our practice with the regularitide is take a lot of the budget for the treatment. In the Saudi Arabia, around 33% are obese. So it means that millions of people they indicated for this medication, which may take the cost. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the first question for you, Dr. Fahad.
So as I said, when I went through the NICE recommendations, their cutoff is more with the A1C. So if there is no any improvement in the A1C of 0.3% or more, then the risk outweigh the benefits for the patients, and you need to stop the treatment, regardless if the total daily dose of insulin is now less with the presence of the SGLT2 inhibitor.
Second question for Dr. Umayma and Dr. Tahani.
In terms of the price, tirzepatide for sure will be expensive. GLP-1 are expensive as well. And when you look at the benefits, you add to the formulary one medication that can target two conditions. And the amount of weight reductions and the amount of A1C reduction that we see with tirzepatide is exceeding any other GLP-1, not any other, sorry, I take this back, exceeding at least semaglutide, because it's the only GLP-1 medications that have head-to-head trials with tirzepatide. So the benefit is still exceeding the cost, and the cost of GLP-1 is already high.
Okay, I think we are running out of time. So the last question for you, Dr. Umayma and Dr. Tahani. Specifically for Dr. Tahani, is GLP-GIP now compared to semaglutide as a trial in the SURMOUNT, I think in the SURPASS-2 trial, they mentioned that they compare semaglutide to tirzepatide. So is it fair to compare semaglutide to 1 milligram, is not the 2.4 milligram, with the GLP-GIP, which is a weight reduction dose?
Okay. The SURMOUNT trials compare tirzepatide to placebo, and it was an obesity trials. It's very important to know that SURPASS trials is diabetes trial, so their main and primary endpoint to look at A1C reduction and look for diabetes management. And they had a secondary endpoint as looking for weight reduction. So their main endpoint was to look for its effect on diabetes management, and they're using a dose that's usually used for patients with type 2 diabetes.
Okay. I think with that we'll conclude our session. So hope to see you in the next session. We have a lot of debates today, and thanks for all the speakers. We know that we have a good debate today, tirzepatide, semaglutide. I think tirzepatide have a future in obesity management. We are waiting still for the trial for cardiovascular and renal protection and all these things. So SGLT have new things in the market now, and new things, and new bright futures in type 1 diabetes. And I think we have fruitful discussion today. Thank you all for your speech.
Thank you.